As it relates to Jay Bruce, Ken Davidoff in the New York Post is reporting that the Mets will not trade Bruce, and instead he will be their starting right fielder in 2017. His story basically says that the Mets told Bruce, we're going to start the season with you in right field. Guys, this is interesting. What might this mean for the Mets?
It's an aggressive thing to say if they did indeed tell Bruce that he'll be starting the season. I understand, like, camps coming up. Guys want to know, am I going to Florida or Arizona or where? That's all well and good. But to say that you're going to be there on opening day, if indeed they did, would be aggressive. The fan out there might say, why did they pick up his option? And I'll still defend the Mets on that because it gave them leverage for Cespedes. People forget that he was the backup plan, Jay Bruce was, in case they lost Cespedes. But now they're in a tough spot having to keep this guy that they thought they could trade.
And Harp, two things really occur to me. Saying he's going to start in right field is a lot, too, considering they have about 9 outfielders. And second, the fact that they would just blow through spring training. Spring training comes with the possibility that any team in Major League Baseball loses their starting right fielder and needs one. So
yeah, I mean, we don't know exactly how this happened, if it actually happened. They reached out to him in some way, it seems like, and probably to give him peace of mind, because obviously we saw this guy in New York. He wasn't comfortable in New York last year, so I think they're trying to make him as comfortable as possible with the idea that, hey, look, you're going to be here and you're our guy, telling him that. But as you said, a lot can happen in spring training, so it just seems like, but it's also another indication that they have run out of places to try and trade this guy. I wrote about it for Sunday. All these teams have kind of gone off the board now, and unless somebody new comes forward with a kind of a new idea, I don't know how they would be able to trade him. But I don't think they would. I mean, they're telling him this, but if a trade came along, I still think they would.
Right. That's part of the article goes on to say. Now, if a suitor comes to be, then
right. Salary rival GM, but we told Jay that he was staying put. That's not going to happen.
That's not going to.
But it is if true, it's a definitive move and committing to him for a little while. But I agree with you, John, that he probably needed to hear this.
Yeah.
Jay Bruce was twitching and spitting and doing everything else in September to show that he wasn't comfortable as a Met. And this whole winter, if he's an internet guy refreshing trade rumors every day, couldn't have made him more comfortable. And it was not difficult to report that the Mets didn't really think that he was a great fit in New York. So they need to boost him up now for sure.
And Harp, you mentioned that you're not sure how this happened. The article doesn't get into that. It basically just says an industry source said the Mets have told Jay Bruce he's going to be their starting right fielder. This means, this occurs to me, that Michael Conforto doesn't have a spot. If really we get to this point where the Mets can't find a suitor for Jay Bruce, this means Michael Conforto's spot.
I sell over there, reacting.
Yeah, it's like Salicata. But his spot is in Vegas.
I want to know how the call went to Michael Conforto. What
You're
about
not going to be our starting left fielder.
Yeah, look, I think he is going to take some ground balls at first base. We'll see how that goes. Who knows, I mean, we'll see if Duda can stay healthy. Maybe Conforto ends up at first, but I've said all along, I think they'd be better off doing whatever they could to get rid of Bruce, even if it means eating the money to make room for Conforto. But I understand the other side of it, that Bruce does bring some value still. As bad as he looked in New York last year, he still gives you some offense, and you do have to worry about injuries with this Mets team.
And Mets people were talking up Conforto as getting some time in center, too. I mean, I know that's crowded with Lagares, Nimmo, Granderson, of course, but they will probably spin this forward as between first base, center, and days here and there in the corners that there's some at bats for Conforto. It is. It is. I'm not saying it's a good plan, but I'm saying that's what we're going to hear from them.
So we keep talking about, I mean, we're talking about dominoes falling. We don't know if this will end up happening. This is an article that's been written by an industry source saying that Jay Bruce is going to be there. So if we presume it's true, another thing that this means is we keep waiting for the Mets to maybe go out and sign a reliever, if not trade for one. And the whole point is that once Jay Bruce gets traded, maybe then they'll have the time, the money to go out and get a reliever. Does this mean no relief help?
Well, it doesn't help, Doug, in terms of getting what they really need in the bullpen. My understanding is a lot of their business has been held up as they've been trying to dump Bruce on somebody and to find a fit there, a little payroll relief. They're still actively looking for guys. I mean, I know that they've been talking to the Rays a little bit about Alex Colomé, the all-star closer there. That's somebody who I'm not sure if that name's been linked to the Mets, but that's someone who they have some interest in. They've done a little talking about, and they came away for now, I know, thinking that the price was too high, but maybe they revisit that. Maybe you don't want to give up prospects for a guy. Maybe you just want to sign a free agent.
Well,
but
how long have you been saying, why haven't the Mets gone out and signed a cheap reliever?
Yeah, you know what I said? I wanted them to sign Uehara or Benoit back in November when those guys were signed. Those guys signed one-year deals. That's what you want for a reliever, because everybody says no one-year deal is a bad deal. Look, they're trying to win now. I know that they want this $13 million off the payroll, But you're trying to win now. You got a window to win now. You signed Cespedes. You can't hold that up for kind of a reliever. You can still go out. There's some good relievers out there, at least guys we think are good. And I do think it's not maybe as bad as it looks because they're counting on guys like Gesellman, maybe Wheeler or Lugo.
Hey, Gesellman got a lefty out once. Everything's fine.
But, yeah, it's an issue. Come on. You're trying to win. Go out and sign a
Now, I
reliever.
will say in the Mets, working in their benefit a little bit is that you still got Blevins, Boone Logan, Blanton, these guys that are out of work. And as we said about Jay Bruce, these relievers also want to know where to go for spring training in really just a couple of weeks now.
Yeah.
So at a certain point, Jerry Blevins or a Boone Logan or someone else is going to want to say, all right, let's get a deal done somewhere, and the terms become more favorable to the Mets. So it's not hopeless, but not being able to unload Bruce really doesn't help.